Evening, students. I welcome you all in our today's income tax session, and that is for TDS, TCS, and advanced tax provision. In the last two sessions of this topic, we have covered our TDS provision, advanced tax also. Today, we will be discussing section 234B interest provision, and of course, 234C concept, which has been discussed in the last session, and the TCS provision, and some MCQs, and our test your knowledge questions. So I believe you all must be studying very hard to achieve the goal of your life, and that is to become a chartered accountant as soon as possible. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so good evening. Yes, Mr. MA, good evening. Ishan is having some queries. Ishan is asking if TPA, third party administrator, is paying for our medical expenses, so wouldn't be in the nature of personal expenditure? So, Ishan, is it not necessary that it would be always in personal nature? Suppose I am a person and I have taken a medical insurance policy for my employees, and one of my employees get injured in an accident during his duty, and for the treatment of that employee, I have claimed insurance compensation. So in that case, that could be a other than personal nature category. But if it is for personal nature, automatically TDS would not be applicable. Okay. So it's not compulsorily be always be personal. In case of your business, employees insurance, etc., that could be other than personal nature also. In 194 DA, the 1 lakh limit is for the maturity amount or the premium. It is of the maturity amount, Ishan. Okay, not premium. In the case of higher rate of for non-filer of income tax return, it is return of the immediately preceding previous year. The current previous year is 24-25. So TDS going to be deducted for 1st April 2024 till 31st March 25. During this duration, if there any TDS is deductible, then for the purpose of higher rate of tax, the three preceding, immediately preceding previous year ITR status need to be checked. That would be previous year 23-24, 22-23, and 21-22. Okay. Astha is asking, sir, in 194, and if CBS system is not there, actually in our country, CBS system is applicable in all cases. So that question technically not relevant, but let me tell you, if government or bank does not know, because if there is no CBS system, so how the payer will come to know that the amount limit of 1 crore is exceeding, or even case of section 194A, interest other than interest on security. So if the CBS system is not there, then government cannot identify it. So of course, TDS could not be deducted. Sir, in 194 pre-TDS on net tax payable, that was after deduction under section 6A rebate. And sir, in this section, if the citizen is having another account in same bank or in different bank, then that interest, how be treated in this case? Suppose if there is any interest other than the same bank account, then interest going to be added, but the return filing exemption would not be there. So if the citizen is having age of more than 75 years, he is receiving pension in the bank account and all the interest, whatever he earned, is in the same bank. In that case, he does not need to file his income tax return. But if the interest is any other bank account, or if he is having any other income, or he did not comply with all these provisions, then he has to file income tax return, and TDS will be calculated after adding other bank interest income also. That would be same, no new provision. Then in 194, if cash, then no threshold limit. Yes, in case of dividend, if it is in cash, then there is no threshold limit. TDS would be deducted in all cases. So TDS by whom in 194 IA? In 194 IA, TDS would be deducted by payer always. So if I am a buyer of a property of rupees, suppose 70 lakh rupees, then whatever would be the TDS amount, I would reduce it. Suppose it's 1%. then 70,000 I will reduce from the consideration of the seller. Okay. And I will deposit that TDS amount on the PAN number of the seller and he can claim the tax benefit of that TDS. So for not applicable 15G, if because of dividend our basic exemption limit increase or our basic exemption limit should be more than before adding dividend. I'm not able to understand your question properly. Maybe you are asking, Asta, that if the basic exemption limit is crossing, then 15G would not be applicable in that case. Okay, you have mentioned the page number 140, page number 7.84. We will come to that. Don't worry. Okay, let me see. Others query. Good evening, Soumya. Okay. So please explain section 197 in short. Kindly write it down the page number of section 197. That is certificate for deduction of tax at a lower rate. Okay, page number is 7.66. Let me show you. This is 7.66. What is the problem in that section? If you will ask me to explain these kind of section, so we will have short of time because we have to cover test your knowledge question also. But let me try. That was 7.66. It is regarding deduction of TDS at lower rate of tax. So if in these provisions, what I have asked you to read, if there is any issue, kindly ask me the specific query only, because we cannot explain these sections because these all are procedural section. Now, certificate for deduction of tax at a lower rate, this section applies where in case of any income of any person or sum payable to any person, income tax is required to be deducted at the time of credit payment, as the case may be, at the rate in force as per the provision of section so and so. Now, point number 2 is simple. In such case, assessee can make an application to the AO. What is difficult in this? Tell me, Tanu. The question says you have to make an application to the assessing officer. Okay, please reduce the TDS rate for me. Okay. Just a second. Let me change the color of this and the thickness also. Okay. If the assessing officer is satisfied that yes, the TDS rate should be lower in your case, then he can allow that. So what is the problem in this section? There's no technical point. Okay. If age is not more than 75, then he has to file income tax return. Okay. Next is illustration 7. There is different computation in the new book. We'll come to that. More queries. Chat box is different today. I have to see each person message separately. That's very difficult. Jayendra is asking, while estimating tax for advanced tax purpose, we can reduce actual TDS paid from tax liability, but not estimating TDS amount. Correct. What about TCS reduction? We can reduce TDS and TCS both, which is actual, not on any estimation basis. Okay. 7.83 receiving bank means. Or where that receiving bank, as you are asking, Jayendra, 7.83 receiving bank means, in which point you are referring that? Next is non-furnishing of pen. Higher TDS will not exceed last month tenancy rent in TDS 194 IB. Yes. Under section 194 IB, your TDS liability could not exceed the last month rent. I can make a statement, those who are not covered section 194 CJH due to personal purpose, but exceeding turnover limit and 50 lakh threshold covered section 194 M. Third point, receiving bank. Just a second. If the last day of the payment of an installment of advance tax is the day on which the receiving bank is closed. Okay, you are asking about this. Receiving bank means in the bank you are going to deposit that advance tax amount. So generally the advance tax need to be deposited in any nationalized bank. So if that bank is closed, then you can deposit that amount at the next day. Okay. Not Assassin's Bank, any bank. You can go and deposit your income tax, GST, etc. to any bank. So if the bank holiday is there, then you can deposit that amount at the next day. Next is Harshada is asking, good evening, sir. If TDS not deducted by buyer, then can be filed by seller in return? Yes, of course, there is a provision which says if payer is in default of depositing TDS, and if the payee shows that income on which TDS should be deducted and paid the tax with his income tax return, then the TDS liability would be automatically assumed as discharge upon the payer. But if you are asking about section 194 IA, then seller cannot deposit it himself. In that case, payer need to deposit only, not the seller. Okay, so I guess we have taken all the queries. Let's discuss today's thought for the day. Actually, in the last class, a lot of student was asking, sir, how we will cover these provisions. These are so confusing. Lot of provisions are there. So for all of you, one thing I want to show. This thought for the day is for all of those who's thinking that it is very difficult to learn all these provisions. So student, please read it. It might not be easy, but it will be worth it. So definitely it's not going to be easy. The journey would not be easy. But if it is easy, then let me tell you, it's not going to worth it. So the difficult the journey would result the most worthy outcome, whatever you have expected in your life. So you will be a CA and definitely it will be worth then whatever you are suffering nowadays. So please be focused and definitely you will make it. Okay. If you will be focused and you are doing hard work, you will be a chartered accountant very soon. We will discuss that Asa. Let me start today's class because a lot of provision I have to cover today. If there is anything is left, then we will discuss it in the next class. The return filing class would be on 8th of July. In that class, we will cover it, okay? Because we have to discuss test your knowledge question, almost 32 question, MCQ question of TDS we have to take, and the TCS is still left. So we have to cover today's syllabus first of all. साहिल इज आस्किंग सर अगर हम एक दिन भी लेट हो जाएं गए एडवांस टैक्स पे करने में तो सीधा 3% का इंटरेस्ट लगेगा यस अगर आप सिंगल डे भी लेट हैं एडवांस टैक्स जमा करने में तो फर्स्ट डेट सेकंड डेट और थर्ड डेट उनके शॉर्ट पेमेंट में 3% लगेगा और अगर आप वो 15 मार्च वाली डेट पर लेट हैं तो सिर्फ 1% लगेगा Shagufta is asking in case of shareholder or debenture holder, TDS are applicable. What kind of question is this, Shagufta? TDS is applicable on the basis of income, on dividend or interest on debenture sort of income. It is not applicable on the basis of you are a shareholder or debentures holder. So if somebody is receiving dividend, then it could be applicable. If somebody is receiving interest on debenture, then it could be applicable depending upon the provisions. Priyanshi saying if we have to become gold, we have to go through fire. Good one. Okay. So let's moving ahead. We were discussing section 234B and 234C. So section 234C provision, I have explained to you with the help of an example. 234B also we have discussed that if your estimated tax liability on 15th March is less than 90% of your assessed tax, in that case, there would be section 234B applicability. So is it possible that in the same question 234B interest and 234C interest could be applicable? Is it possible? The answer is yes. In the example also we have gone through that yes, in that question 234C was also applicable and 234B was also applicable. And if you want to understand, they both applicability is different. Interest under section 234B is applicable if it is on the last day. The interest applicability need to be checked on the last day of advance tax deposit, that is 15th March 2025. So if your advance tax deposited is less than 90% of your assessed tax, which has been assessed in the assessment year, then 234B interest would be applicable. So even if on the first date, that was 15 June 24, you did not deposit anything, zero deposit. Even there was requirement of deposit, suppose 1 lakh rupees advance tax liability was there, but you deposit zero. On 15th September 24, the liability of advance tax deposit 45%, suppose equivalent to 1,40,000. You did not deposit anything. On 15 December, suppose the 75% liability was 1,60,000. You did not deposit anything. And on 15th of March, suppose the liability was 2 lakh rupees. And you deposit 1,95,000 on this last date. So 90% of 2 lakh would be 1,80,000. And if on the last date you have deposited 1,95,000, that means you have deposited more than 90%. So in this example, 234B interest would not be applicable at all, because for the purpose of 234B interest, only last date of advance tax deposit would be considered. But in this case, 234C would be there. On this date, 234C liability would be there. On this date, also 234C there, and on this date, 234C also there. On the difference of 5,000 rupees, interest need to be charged. So for the purpose of 234B, we just need to focus on 15th March deposit of advance tax. If it is not less than 90%, then 234B is not applicable. If it is less than 90%, then 234B is applicable. Now the interesting thing is what is the rate of interest under section 234B. For 234C, we know it's 3% on the short amount, 3%, 3%. On the last date, it would be 1%. But for the purpose of 234B, the rate of interest is 1% per month. For the purpose of calculation of interest, we generally need 4 things. If we are able to find these 4 ingredients, then we are able to calculate interest. So what are these 4 things which is necessary to calculate interest in any case? First, I have already written over here, rate of interest. So what are 3 other things we need to calculate interest in any case? Who will tell me? What are other 3 things? In the case of income from house property, when you calculate interest for pre-construction period or current year interest, in that case also, we need 4 things. If we are able to find 4 things, then we are able to calculate the interest. So what are these 4 things? First, I have written rate of interest. What are the second thing? What are the second, third, and fourth thing? Let me see who is answering. Ishan is saying date. Not exactly the date. The word should be better than this. Not the date is not the correct answer. Tanu is saying time for which interest is due. Yes, that would be correct. So that should be the word duration. For which duration we need to calculate that interest amount. So the date of starting and the date of end. We can say like that also. Fine. So starting date and end date. In short, we can say duration, tenure, whatever you are able to understand. Okay, now what are rest two things? Date of completion we have covered in point number 2, starting date, end date. That means the duration or the tenure. Rate of interest is the second thing. Anubhav is saying amount, correct. The third thing is amount on which we have to calculate the interest. The amount on which we need to calculate the interest. And what is the last fourth thing? In house property also, you need to know interest, the pre-construction period or the current year. That means duration. And the amount of loan you need to know to calculate the interest. What is the fourth thing we should know to calculate the interest calculation? Amount हो गया, duration हो गया, rate of interest हो गया. What is the fourth one? Outstanding balance is exactly amount, Jayendra. There's nothing different. Amount, outstanding balance, value. You can say this is all same thing. There is something more is there. Shagufta is saying deduction. No, that is not. We are going to calculate the interest only. How much deduction is going to be claimed? That is separate thing. I'm just asking very normal question. What are four ingredients we need to calculate interest in any situation? Self-occupied. Are Soumya, I am not asking from the point of view of house property. I am asking a general question. What four components, ingredient we need to know to calculate interest in any case, whether it's house property, 234B, C, etc. Okay, so you are confused. The fourth thing is the starting thing we need to know, and that is applicability. Is in that situation interest is applicable or not? So if the deposit is more than 90%, then we do not need to calculate the interest under section 234B. So when we need to calculate interest, when the advance tax payment is less than 90%. So even in case of house property, when you need to calculate interest, if there is a loan, etc. So the applicability you should know. So rate is 1% per month or part of the month. You should know now whether I do need to apply 234B provision or 234C provision. So the first thing is the applicability, that in my question, whether this 234B is applicable or C is applicable. So first of the initial thing is to identify whether interest provision is applicable or not. And if that is your yes answer, then three things we need to have to calculate interest. So the rate is 1% per month or part of the month. Part of the month means if the duration is 5 months and 6 days, 5 months and 6 days, then we have to consider 6 days also as a month. So we will charge total 6-month interest. If the duration is 8 months and 20 days, 8 months, 20 days, then we will take 9 months interest calculation. That would be 9% because it is 1% per month. So part of the month means the single day would be counted as a month. Now second day time is the start date and end date. Section 234B interest would be start from the first day of assessment year. This is a fixed date. First day of assessment year. So if you are not able to deposit 90% or more up to 15th of March, then from 1st of April, automatically your time duration will start and it will end at the time of your income assessed under section 143(1), etc. So until you have filed your income tax return and the assessment has been done, till that time duration, this interest will run. So this date would be given in the examination. This date is fixed and that date is going to be given in your examination or question. Now the third is on which amount that 234B interest calculation need to be done. So the amount would be assessed tax less advance tax paid less TDS paid less TCS less any rebate unless any AMT credit. Now, what is this AMT credit? That we will discuss in our last topic, that is calculation of total income and the tax. So whatever will be the remaining amount after reducing all these things, on that amount, 1% per month or part of the month from 1st April 2025 till your return or income has been assessed under section 143(1), till that time duration, interest is going to be calculated. There's a one good news for all of you, that the revision class also going to be started from 9th of July. So if you have any query in any of the chapter, so the schedule might be uploaded on the portal. So the chapter wise revision, I guess 7 revision classes are there. Out of those 4 I am going to take. So if anything is left in the basic concept, TDS, deduction, etc., so you can find it out those queries and you can ask those queries in the revision classes also. So Institute is doing everything for you. You just need to study hard and just work and focus. Okay. So moving on to the provision of section 234B, and now you can see interest under section 234B is attracted for non-payment of advance tax if it is less than 90%. The rate is 1% per month or part of the month from 1st April of the following the financial year. So this is fixed date, 1st April 2025. Up to the date of determination of income under section 143(1), or a regular assessment is made up to the date of such regular assessment. So this date would be given in the question. Such interest is calculated on the amount. So what should be the amount on which interest is going to be calculated? So the assessed tax is the tax calculated, determining under section 143(1) and reducing TDS, any relief, any MAT credit, etc., or AMT credit. The total income determined under section 143(1) would not include the additional income tax under section 140B or section 143. So you can see the TDS, the TCS. What are section 143(1)? What is section 140B? That is going to be discussed in the next chapter, that is return filing. Okay. You can see section 140B is discussed in detail in chapter number 8. So that is how you need to calculate section 234B interest. Now 234C interest we have discussed in the last class. Now the date, a very, very interesting thing in section 234C we are going to discuss now. So the specific date, the first date for depositing advance tax was 15th June. And the specific rate is 15% we have to deposit. We have gone through with this provision in the last session. And for calculating interest under section 234C, the amount would be the 15% of tax due on return income. What was the advance tax liability less advance tax paid? So technically we can say the shortfall. Suppose the 15% was 1 lakh and you have deposited only 80,000. So the advance tax would be calculated on 20,000 and 3 months at the rate 1% per month. So the rate would be directly 3% you can charge on 20,000. In the same way, the second date is 15 September and the specific percentage for deposit is 45%. So when advance tax would be applicable, 45% of assessed tax less advance tax paid up to September. So upon the shortfall, again 3 months at the rate 1%, so rate would be directly 3%. Same in case 75% and 100%. But now there's a very interesting note and you would be really confused as do I do after reading this note. Very, you can say a very weird thing is there. Logically, if we will discuss it, if I am going to ask you a question that for the purpose of section 234C, the first date is 15th of June 24 and the specific percentage we need to deposit is 15%. So when interest is going to be chargeable, if we deposit less than 15%. Clearly, when interest applicable under section 234C, if deposit is less than 15%, only in that situation, there would be 234C applicability. Clear? Very, very simple provision. But the note says that the requirement for deposit is 15%. But if you deposit less than 12%, then only 234C interest going to be charged. So it's very confusing that advanced tax provision says the minimum amount need to be deposited is 15%. But section 234C applicability, whether it's a drafting mistake or whatever it is, but the problem is this, that advanced tax says you have to deposit at least 15%. So logically, 234C interest should be applicable when we deposit less than 15%. But the provision is changed. The provision says interest would be charged if you deposit less than 12%. So suppose the advance tax, the estimated tax liability on 15th June was suppose 1 lakh rupees. So according to advance tax provision, 15,000 would be your advance tax liability. Advance tax liability would be 15,000. And now suppose the assessee deposit, two cases we are taking over here, assessee deposit 13,000. So if as per normal provision, somebody would ask you, is there any shortfall in the advance tax payment? You will say, yes, it's a shortfall of 2,000 rupees. So interest should be charged under section 234C, but the answer will be no. No interest under section 234C. Why? Because for the purpose of advance tax requirement was 15%, but due to some drafting mistake or whatever it is, the limit has been made less than 12% for charging of 234C interest. So because we deposit more than 12% in first case, so there would not be any 234C interest calculation. Suppose we have deposit 11,000. Now in this case, because it is less than 12%, now the shortfall, now very interesting thing, it is 15,000 and this is 11,000. But the requirement was 12%. So the shortfall would be calculated according to 15% or 12%. If we will take it as per 12%, then the difference would be 1,000. And if we will take it from the point of view of advance tax liability, then it would be 4,000. So for the purpose of amount calculation, difference we will take from 15% value. So please, if you are messed up, if you think that what is happening, I don't have to do anything with this. This is the provision. Maybe there is a drafting mistake. Then whomsoever was framing section 234C, he might remember the percentage wrongly instead of 15%. He might take it as 12%. So due to that, when you applicable 234C interest, in that situation, if it is less than 12%, then only interest need to be charged. So in this case, interest would be charged at 3%. Same in the second date. Problem persists. So whomsoever made section 234C, he might be remember provision like this, that the first rate, whatever is the first rate, the second rate is 3 times of the first rate. The second rate you can see is the thrice of the first rate. So first rate is 15%. So the second rate is thrice the first rate. And because he recalled mistakenly first rate as 12%. So what happened, if on the second date, the advance tax says the liability should be 45% of assessed tax. But 234C would be applicable if it is less than 36%. So how we remembered that? That the second date rate is thrice the first rate. So he wrongly recalled the first rate as 12%. So what he has done, he just thrice the rate of 12%. So that is now 36%. Again, same problem arises. If this is 1 lakh, advance tax will say at least 45,000 should be deposited. But 234C will say if it is less than 36,000, then we will charge interest. So suppose in the first case, somebody deposited 40,000. So there would not be any 234C because it's more than 36%. And if suppose somebody has deposited 32,000, then 234C would be applicable, and that would be difference would be from 45% minus the amount you deposited. So that would be 13,000 and 3% on it. Now from the third rate, now a more interesting thing. From the third date, everything is streamlined. Everything has been sorted. Maybe his short-term memory has restored. So he restored it 75%, and from third date, the rate is 75 advance tax, and interest would also be applicable if it is less than 75%, and also at the last date, that was 100%. So the problem is on first and second rate. You can see this is the note we were discussing. And you can see this note is there. It says, as normally it should be, the rate should be advanced interest applicability should be if it is less than 15% or 45. But for the purpose of calculation, you have to replace it by 12% and 36%. However, if the advance tax paid by Sasi on the current income on or before 15 June and September is not less than or 12% or 36%, then 234C interest calculation not required. Now, due to this, we have solved example in the last class, and there would be some change in the first date. I have already mentioned it. You will see in the example, whatever we have solved in the last session, the tax liability on the first date was 3,04,200. And the 15% of that would at least be 45,630. But for the purpose of section 234C, how much we need to deposit? Only 12% of my tax liability. 12% of my tax liability, that was 3,04,200. So you can see that 12% of it would be 3,6,504. And we have deposited 40,000 in this case. So it is less than 15%, but it's more than 12%. I should remove this point. So because it is more than 12%, so there would not be any 234C interest calculation in the first case of our example. Understood? Why? Because he deposited less than 15%, but because 40,000 is more than 12% of the desired amount. So in that case, there would not be any interest calculation for the first date under section 234C. So whatever total interest we have calculated, from that we have to reduce our 1691. So our 234C liability would be 946 rupees. Understood? So this question you have to recorrect it. I have already made two questions for advance tax and 234 ABC liability. Solved question. So you would be able to understand what to do. Now one more provision for section 234C. And that is rule number 119. It says whenever you need to calculate interest under section 234C, etc., Then this amount, the shortfall, whatever was the shortfall on the third date, 15 December 2024, the shortfall was 56,620. So this amount on which interest is going to be calculated as per rule number 119A, you have to convert it into the nearest multiple of 100 rupees. So it was 56,620. So what is the nearest multiple of this? 56,600. So 3% needs to be calculated on 56,300. That would be 1698. In the same way, on the last date, the amount of shortfall was 76,870. So if we will convert this into the nearest 100 multiple of rupees, this would be 76,900. Interest would be same in this case. The total would be changed to 1698 plus 769. Okay, I guess we have skipped one interest rate. So the correct answer would be 2467. The first interest is now not applicable, this 1691. Sorry, it was not 1691, I guess it was 169. Okay, yes. So now the only two interests going to be applicable, that would be 1698 and 769. So the correct interest for this example would be 2467. So there are two important things you need to remember in case of section 234C, etc. That the rate would be 12% for the applicability of 234C and 36% on the second date. And rule number 119 is there also, what we have just discussed regarding the multiple of nearest 100 rupees. We have solved question also, do not worry. We have completed section 234C. Again, if it is a section regarding section 44AD or 44ADA, so we have discussed for that purpose only last date, 15th of March 2025, percentage would be checked for the purpose of section 234C interest calculation. All other things are same. Now the last topic we can say is tax collection at source. In the starting of this topic, we have discussed the difference between these tax collection type. TDS was on the basis of some income, a specific source of income, except in one case. That was section 194N. That was cash withdrawal. Advance tax is on the basis of your estimated tax liability. If it is equal to or more than 10,000 rupees. And if you are a resident, senior citizen, do not have any business income, then there is no applicability of advance tax. And the TCS was on some high value transaction base. So there are certain high value transaction which is notified by the government, and if you undertake that transaction, then your seller will collect. Remember very carefully, in case of TCS, the payer needs to pay extra amount. The example I have given you in the first day, that if you are a buyer and you are going to purchase a car of 15 lakh rupees from a showroom, if you purchase a motor vehicle more than 10 lakh rupees, there is TCS provision. So suppose if you are a buyer of a car, you want to purchase a car of 15 lakh rupees, then the seller, the showroom owner, you have to pay extra 1% TCS of 15 lakh rupees. That means you have to pay extra 15,000 rupees to the seller. So you are going to pay 15 lakh 15,000. Out of that 15 lakh 15,000, 15,000 he is going to deposit as TCS at your PAN number, for which you can take credit at the time of filing of return. So there are two special characteristics which differentiate TCS from advanced tax and TDS. The first one is it is on high value transaction, not on income base, etc. The purpose to include is high value transaction. And the second one, you have to pay extra. You are not going to deduct it from the payment. You need to pay extra upon the payment. Extra, whatever you are paying, you have to pay extra to the seller, and seller is going to deposit it to the government department, to the income tax department. The credit you will take for all these, whether it's TDS, whether it's TCS, whether it's advanced tax, whatever tax you are paying, you are going to get the benefit, you are going to get the credit at the time of filing of return. If you have paid extra, you will get the refund. Do not worry about it. Priya is asking, so the specified percentage will be 12, 36, 7500 and not 15, 45, 7500. No, Priya Mishra, you are wrong. If the question asks you to calculate advanced tax liability only, remember very carefully, all of you. If the question is there, an examiner asks you to calculate only advanced tax liability for those 4 specific dates. Then advanced tax liability purpose, you have to take 15%, then 45%, then 75%, and then 100%. This would be remain the same. But if the same question or there is another question which asks you to calculate interest under section 234C, then for the purpose of 234C, the percentage would be 12, 36, 75 and 100. So these are separate. I have solved the example combinedly in which I have shown advanced tax calculation and 234C both calculation. So if the question is just for advanced tax calculation, the rate would be 15, 45, 75, 100. If it is for calculation of interest, then it would be 12, 36, 75, 100. I hope it's clear, Priya Mishra. Got it. Got it. Sir, but interest will be as we calculate in last class. Interest has been changed now, Ishan, because the first date on 15th of June, now there would not be any interest calculation because you have deposited more than 12%. So the first day interest would be gone. The 169 rupees something, what was that? That is not going to be the part of our 234C interest. Now only 2 dates interest would be calculated. One is 15th of December and the other was 15th of March. So calculation would be, okay. Ishan is asking, no sir, if we do less than 12%. Yes, if you deposit less than 12%, the shortfall will come the same. The shortfall is going to be calculated from the 15 and 45% value. So that would be remain the same. That is correct. Tanu is asking, sir, if we get credit of that, then why we paid because we are not doing any business? Tanu, this thing we have discussed at the time of starting of our first session, in which I have explained it to you that government does not want to wait for collection of tax after 1 year. Government wants the collection should be simultaneously, some amount. And the finalization we will do at the time of assessment year. So that's why you have to pay installment and government also recovers some money in installment. Okay. Sure. Moving on for tax collection at source. Now the applicability and rates. Sale of certain goods. Initially there was only this was the part of TCS. After that amendment, now TCS has been expanded into multiple sections, but earlier there was only section 206C1 case. And it says, seller of certain goods are required to collect tax from the buyer at the specified rate. The specified percentage for collection of tax at source is as follows. So there are certain goods on those goods, a seller is going to collect TCS from the buyer extra. So if it is alcoholic liquor for human consumption, TCS rate is 1%. If it is tendu leaves, it's a tree called tendu, and if its leaf contract is there, tender. Generally, these are all tender-based business. For these businesses, there are all generally there are tenders. So if there's a tender-based business of alcoholic liquor for human consumption, you cannot do this business without any license, etc. So if that is tendu leaves, timber obtained under a forest lease. So suppose I am a buyer, I applied for a tender of timber obtained under a forest lease, and I have been selected. So the person who is giving me that tender, I am the buyer, is the seller. So he will charge 2.5% extra on the tender. Okay. Timber obtained by any mode other than forest lease, of course, other than C, any other forest product other than timber and tendu leaf. So if there is any tender for any forest product except timber and tendu, the rate would be 2.5. If there is a scrap tender, 1%, mineral being coal or lignite or iron ore. If these are product, those are being you are the buyer of those product, and there's a tender case, you have to pay certain amount of TCS. The tax should be collected at the time of debiting of the amount payable by the buyer to his account or the time of receipt, whichever is earlier. Same as case of TDS. There was the amount need to be credited. Now in this case, the amount need to be debited. Non-applicability is always important in all kind of provisions. So non-applicabilities are like exception. Now the provision says if no TCS would be applicable if the buyer is resident. You have to fulfill certain condition. If the buyer is resident and buyer furnish to seller an undertaking that these goods, whatever I am receiving as a tender, is going to be used for manufacturing purpose, not for process trading purpose. That is going to be for manufacturing or generation of power. So whatever tendu leaves, timber I am obtaining from the above cases, if the buyer is resident and if he is taking a undertaking, then whatever goods I am procuring from this tender, I will utilize it for the manufacturing of any other product or for generation of power and not for trading. If it is not for trading, then TCS provision would not be applicable. So this provision has been mentioned over here. You can see that. No collection of tax shall be made in the case of a resident buyer if he furnished to the person responsible for collecting tax, that means the seller, a declaration in writing. Point number 2, verified in the prescribed manner to the effect that the goods referred to in section 206C1 above are utilized for the purpose of manufacturing, processing, producing article or thing, or for the purpose of generation of power and not for trading purpose. So if all these conditions are fulfilled, no TCS would be there. Sanatan Viswas is asking, sir, I have query about deduction from GTI. Is assessee able to take deduction under chapter 6A for one business and 10AA deduction from another business? Yes, it is possible because 10AA applicability or eligibility criteria is different. And for other deduction 80C to 80U, the criteria is different. You can claim that in that way. Other tenders are for parking lot, toll plaza, mine, or a quarry. So if you are into these three businesses, parking lot, toll plaza, or mining, or a quarry, in that case, TCS rate would be 2%. All three, that would be same. This is also for your reading purpose. The second TCS applicability, as we were discussing an example also, sale of motor vehicle of value exceeding 10 lakh. Even if in practical you can see if your parents or your brother, sister, any one of you, your parents has been purchased a motor vehicle. And if the price of that motor vehicle is exceeding 10 lakh rupees. And you can see that invoice. In that invoice, they need to pay extra 1% as TCS to the showroom owner also. So that is the applicability of TCS. You can check it out practically also. Section 206C1F provides that every person being a seller, that means a showroom owner, who receive any amount as consideration for sale of a motor vehicle of the value exceeding 10 lakh shall at the time of receipt of such amount collect 1% of the sale consideration. So earlier only motor vehicle has been included, but from 1st January 2025, government has been notified that we can include any other goods also in this category. So till now only motor vehicle has been included, but government has powered himself that we can include any other goods, any other notified goods also under section 206C1F. And if that good also exceeding 10 lakh rupees, then you have to collect 1% from the buyer again. So that would be the notified goods. Maybe you will able to see in the next year. The next case is remittance under LRS of RBI and through an authorized dealer or purchase of an overseas tour package. Let me see any queries there. Third point क्या लिखा है sir? निधि is asking third point. कौन सा third point है निधि? किस वाले point का third point पूछ रहे हो? जरा पेज नंबर प्लीज मुझे लिख दो, मैं बता दूं. Okay. So remittance under LRS of RBI through an authorized dealer or purchase of an overseas tour package. So if you are going to exchange your money through an RBI authorized dealer for the purpose of remittance of foreign currency, etc., or if you are going to purchase an overseas tour package, you are going to outside India for travel purpose in a package, then TCS would be applicable there. Third point, 7.87. Third point, 7.87 में कहाँ है निधि? There is page number 727. There is point number 2. Third point is what point you? मैंने क्या लिखा है notes में? If you asking this, मैंने sheet में क्या लिखा है आप ये पूछ रहे हो? अच्छा sheet में लिखा है third point. I don't write anything which is not in the notes. I always write whatever in the notes. So it is in short form manufacturing. कि अगर वो जो गुड्स आपने खरीदे हैं वो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और प्रोसेसिंग के लिए है, ठीक है ना? ये थोड़ी राइटिंग ऐसी है, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और प्रोसेसिंग और जनरेशन ऑफ पावर. ये ना थर्ड पॉइंट, ये देखो यहां से कनेक्ट करा ये रहा. तो थर्ड पॉइंट अगर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एटसेट्रा के लिए है इन दैट सिचुएशन. ओके, so we are over fourth point, remittance etc. Fine. So being an authorized dealer, so who receive amount under the liberalized remittance scheme of the RBI for remittance from a buyer being a person remitting such amount. So buyer is me, I am the payer, and the authorized dealer is the seller who is remitting me the or exchanging my money, or being a seller of an overseas tour program package. So the seller who is giving me the tour package, so the travel agent we are talking about, who receive any amount from the buyer. So buyer is the person who is going to travel. I am the buyer. Okay. Tax has to be collected at the time of debiting, etc. So we are having the rates and the percentage over. Where the amount is for purchase of an overseas tour program package. So suppose if you want to go outside India and you purchase a tour package from a tour operator, in that case, you need to pay TCS 5% till 7 lakh rupees. So if the tour package is up to 7 lakh rupees, the extra 5% you have to pay to the tour operator and 20% thereafter. So that means up to 7 lakh, 5% TCS would be charged, and exceeding 7 lakh amount, whatever amount it would be, that would be going to be charged at the rate of 20%. Clear? Point number 2, where the amount is remitted outside India and the remittance. Now we are talking about liberalized system, that LRS scheme. This is LRS scheme provision. So if you are going to remit amount outside India for the purpose of education or medical treatment. So if you are remitting amount outside India for the education or medical treatment of someone, then no TCS up to 7 lakh rupees. So in that case, up to 7 lakh rupees, there is no TCS. That is an exemption. But if amount remitted up to 7 lakh, no TCS, but 5% of the amount or aggregate of amount in excess of 7 lakh. So if you are sending the amount more than 7 lakh for education purpose or medical treatment, in that case, up to 7 lakh, there is no TCS. Exceeding 7 lakh, 5% TCS need to be extra paid by buyer. If amount remitted is out of a loan obtained from any financial institution as defined in section 80E for higher education loan, etc., for the purpose of pursuing any education. Now, suppose you are transferring money outside India, but that money is out of education loan. It is not your money. You have taken education loan and you are transferring, you are remitting that amount outside India, and that is all for education purpose. If that is without loan, then the rate would be 5% exceeding 7 lakh. But if it is a loan from financial institution and if it is for education purpose, then up to 7 lakh, no TCS, exceeding 7 lakh, 0.5% amount or aggregate of amount in excess of 7 lakh. So if the amount is transferring by yourself for education or treatment, 5%. If it is for education, but it is in the nature of loan from any financial institution, the rate would be really less. It's just 0.5% of the excess of 7 lakh. The third case, for any other case other than A case, if there is any other case, then up to 7 lakh, it's no TCS. Exceeding 7 lakh, the rate would be 20% in aggregate of amount exceeding 7 lakh. Clear? Cases where no TCS is going to be collected. No TCS by the authorized dealer on an amount in respect of which the sum has been collected by the seller himself. Suppose in any of the above case, if TCS has been collected by the seller directly, then that authorized dealer does not need to collect any TCS. Suppose there is Mr. A, there is a travel agent who say make my trip packages, and this is make my trip the company. So generally he sell the packages to Mr. A, and suppose the company policy is this, that they will sell their packages by this travel agent, but TCS needs to be paid by Mr. A to the direct to the company. So this company is the seller in this case, and if TCS has been paid by Mr. A to directly to the seller, then travel agent or tour operator or authorized agent does not need to collect any TCS again. That would be double taxation. The same case is over here. The same case is over here. The third case would always be here if the buyer is government, etc. So government is not going to pay anything, whether it's a TDS, TCS, etc. So there is no need of applicability of TCS if the buyer is government, etc. Now the next TCS section. So TCS section we have covered point 1. In that there was some specific goods like tendu leaves, alcoholic liquor, timber, etc. Then the second point was for toll plaza, parking, etc. The third was for motor vehicle exceeding 10 lakh. The fourth was the liberalized remittance scheme and the tour package provision, whatever we have gone through. So this was for goods. This is for 3 services. This is for more than 10 lakh rupees motor vehicle. This is for LRS and tour packages. Now the fifth one, 206C1H. You might have remembered we left one section in TDS, and I have asked you that we will cover that section when we will discuss the provision of section for provision of TCS provisions. So any one of you remember which section it was? What we have skipped in TDS? Joinder is saying absolutely correct. 194Q. Almas was also gave the correct answer. Kesapuram Kumari is asking, sir, notified goods only motor vehicle? Yes, till now the notified goods are only motor vehicle, but government can add any other goods. From 1st January 2025, government has amended that we can notify any other goods also, but till now it's only for the purpose of your examination only, motor vehicle has been added. Okay. 194Q, Tanu, correct? 194Q. Very good. सबको पता है. Okay. So 194Q has been left by us because this 194Q and 2061H, those are correlated. But let me tell you one thing. From next assessment year, that means next financial year 25-26, which is not applicable in your examination, 206C1H has been omitted. Now this section has been omitted for next year. For September and for January examination, it is there. After that, it has been abolished because of this contravention of these two sections. Because section 194Q and 206C1H, they are interconnected. So government realized there is no requirement, no need of section 206C1H because almost all cases are exactly same as per section 194Q. So what we should do? First of all, we should read section 206C1H, or we should understand first of all 194Q. Give me answer by understanding this, that if both section apply, then 190Q will be prevail. This will overrule section 206C1H. So if there is any transaction on which both is applicable, TDS also applicable as per section 194Q and TCS under section 206C1H is applicable, then 194Q would prevail, or that you can say it will overrule under section 206C1H. That's why it has been abolished from the next year. But for your examination, you have to read both. So we have to understand section 194Q. Then we will correlate it with section 206C1H. So now we are going to understand that topic with the help of this concept of section 194Q. And let me tell you, I guess this is the only important section. Remaining are just guidelines and some clarification and illustration and theoretical concept for your reading. So this is the last technical question what we are going to discuss in this chapter. Okay. So now 194Q, what it says first one, the nature of payment on which it is applicable. So the nature of payment is purchase of goods. Purchase of goods. Those goods would not be included on which TCS is applicable, like tendu leaves and alcoholic wine, etc. That is specifically covered in section TCS provisions. Okay. And if the amount, or we can say the value of goods exceeding 50 lakh rupees in a previous year or in a financial year, then on excess amount, TDS would be applicable on excess amount. Okay. Who would be the payer? The payer would be the buyer, but only those buyer has been included whose turnover exceeding 10 crore in previous year 23-24. So 10 crore, not 1 crore. So only those buyer has been included. TDS would be deducted if transaction amount is more than 50 lakh in previous year and the turnover of that payer should exceeding 10 crore rupees in previous year 23-24. The pay could be any resident person. There is no specific restriction. The rate is 0.1% of exceeding 50 lakh from same pay. So if Mr. A is a buyer, the section is easy. His turnover for previous year 23-24, suppose 12 crore. He purchased goods from Mr. B. So B is the seller. In the previous year, 40 lakh rupees only. So there would not be any applicability of section 194Q. Why? Because it's less than 50 lakh. Suppose in December he purchased 40 lakh and in February he purchased 15 lakh more from the same person, B. If 15 lakh is from C, again, no applicability. In February 25, he purchased 15 lakh. So that is 55. Now you can see all condition has been fulfilled. There are goods purchased, value is more than 50 lakh, turnover exceeding 10 crore, payment to a resident. So 0.1% he is going to deduct because we are discussing TDS section. So the exceeding value, the extra payment of 5 lakh, out of that 5 lakh, 0.5% is going to be deducted by the payer. That means by Mr. A. Understood? So if this is the condition, 194Q would be applicable. And suppose seller turnover also 20 crore. But still 194Q would be applicable. And Mr. A, 0.1% of 5 lakh will deduct as TDS. Simple. There is no confusion. Simple. Why it is confusing? Because of section 206C 1H. Now 206C 1H says the same condition applicable. Whatever you have just read it, the 206C 1H says the same condition, but it will be applicable. Suppose in the example, what we have discussed, suppose in this example, the same example, Mr. A turnover for 23-24 is 8 crore and transaction is for 55 lakh. Same. And Mr. B turnover is 20 crore. Now 194Q cannot be applicable because turnover of buyer is less than 10 crore. For the purpose of applicability of 194Q, the turnover of buyer should exceed at least 10 crore. So 206C1H is explained exactly the same, that if there is a transaction of goods from buyer and seller, and if the transaction is exceeding 50 lakh rupees in the financial year, and if the buyer turnover is less than 10 crore, but if the seller turnover is exceeding 10 crore in previous year 23-24. So now because section 194Q cannot be applicable, but if seller turnover exceeding 10 crore in preceding year 23-24, then TCS need to be collected with same rate, 0.1% of 5 lakh. Now this is extra we need to collect from the buyer. In this case, buyer will reduce 0.1%. He will reduce the TDS amount and balance amount he is going to pay to the seller. But in 206C1H is applicable. Then now upon 5 lakh, 1%, 0.1% will be charged extra from buyer. So buyer needs to pay this amount. And if 194Q is applicable, then buyer needs to pay this amount. In this case, buyer need to deposit this TDS. And in this case, seller needs to deposit this TDS, TCS. So you can see this section 194Q and 206C1H is exactly parallel for the same kind of transaction. But the difference is this: if buyer is having not that turnover and if seller is having turnover of more than 10 crore, then 194Q is not applicable, but TCS need to be collected from buyer under section 206C1H. And suppose both is having turnover less than 10 crore. Suppose buyer is also not having turnover of more than 10 crore. Then neither 194Q applicable nor 206C1H applicable. So they are technically correlated. That if the transaction is more than 50 lakh rupees in the previous year for goods, then now but there is two different things you have to remember. If buyer turnover exceeding 10 crore in preceding year, that transaction will fall under section 194Q. 206C finish because 194Q will prevail. And if buyer turnover is less than 10 crore, then only 206C1H can be applicable if seller turnover is exceeding 10 crore. If both turnover exceeding 10 crore, then 194Q will prevail. We have discussed that thing. So I believe now you must understand what we were discussing. Both section we just discussed in a single way. Yes, Tanu, if both having turnover exceeding, we have said that 194Q will prevail in our example. You can see in this example, both turnover exceeding 12 and 20. What we applied? We applied 194Q, not 206C1H. .88 का नोट कोई पूछ रहा है मुझसे 7.88 में पेज नंबर 7.88 फिर से समझा दीजिए नोट नंबर 3 कौन सा है 7.88 पर पवन मुझे तो दिख नहीं रहा किस चीज का है नोट देयर इज नो नोट मेंशन मैंने जो लिखा था नोट वो तो 7.87 पे लिखा है 7.88 पे भी कुछ लिखा है क्या लेट मी सी जस्ट वेट अ मिनट 7.89 कौन सा नोट की बात कर रहे हो दिस इज पॉइंट नंबर 3 आर यू आस्किंग फॉर पॉइंट नंबर 3 ऑन पेज नंबर 7.88 because there is no note I am not able to see any note Pawan over there 206C1H कब यूज होगा सर लेस देन होने पर निधि इज आस्किंग देखो अगर बायर का टर्नओवर प्रीसीडिंग ईयर में 10 करोड़ से ऊपर है और इस साल बायर और सेलर के बीच में जो ट्रांजेक्शन है वो 50 लाख से ऊपर है तो निधि 194Q यूटिलाइज होगा अब ट्रांजेक्शन 50 लाख से ऊपर है लेकिन बायर का टर्नओवर 10 करोड़ से नीचे था बट सेलर का 10 करोड़ से ज्यादा है तो फिर 206C1H यूटिलाइज हो ओके बहुत आसान है कोई बहुत डिफिकल्ट नहीं है सब आसान है सब हो जाएगा सब रिलैक्स Kesapuram Kumari is asking, sir, if both turnover less than, I have explained it. If both turnover is less than 10 crore, neither section 194Q applicable, no TDS, no TCS, relax. Okay, chalo. So moving on further. कोई क्वेरी पूछ रहा है ओके क्लियर हो गई केस good. So that was section 206C1H. Now, if you read it, you will understand that first of all, we have to understand section 194Q. So as per section 206C1H, tax is also required to be collected by seller who receive any amount as consideration for sale of goods. That's why we did not discuss section 194Q there, because if we have discussed that 194Q there, and now if we'll discuss 206C1H there, so you might be confused that this kind of a deja vu. We have already discussed it. So there is just a difference of one thing. Their buyer need to deduct TDS. Over here, seller needs to collect the TCS. Same provisions are there. There is no difference. You can now read it easily. Power of CBD to issue guideline. There are some clarifications. Some question has been there and that has been answered. So these are your kind of question answer. You can read it. These are kind of your homework. That would definitely going to clear a lot of cases in case of LRS and package tour cases. Okay, please go through it. If there is any problem, you can ask me in the next lecture, or we will have our revision class also of this chapter, I guess on 28th or 29th of July. So what are the buyer those has been included, and there are some buyer those does not have included for section 206C1H. And you can see the government, local authority, government department, they are not going to pay TDS. They are not going to, nobody can charge TCS on those specific authorities. So these are the buyer. If they are the buyer, in all cases, they are like central government, state government, local authority, etc. All seller has been included. Seller for section 206C1H is that one whose turnover exceeding 10 crore rupees. You can go through with it. And seller does not include these. Clear? Seller also an individual HUF whose turnover is less than 1 crore, etc. is not included. Only those seller turnover exceeding 1 crore 50 lakh is going to be included. Higher rate of TCS also there, as there was a case of higher rate of TDS. If you are not submitting your PAN number, if you are not filed your return of income, this is read, okay. So in the same case, only two rates, whichever is higher, you have to pay TCS according to it. At twice the rate specified in the relevant provision, at 5%. However, the maximum rate of TCS under this section shall not exceed the 20% also. If you are not going to file your return of income in the same case as in case of TDS, again the same provisions are there. Twice the rate or 5%, or it cannot exceed 20% in any case. The maximum rate is 20%. So that could be higher, but it cannot exceed 20% in any case. The meaning of a specified person, you can go through it. There are some more guidelines and clarification. You have to go through it yourself. Clarification for applicability on sale of motor vehicle case with other TCS provision, adjustment for sale return, basic provisions are there. You can go through it. You can read it yourself. Now illustration number 13. So now we will going to solve some illustration, test your knowledge question and MCQs. Now let me tell you, if you are feeling that TDS is very massive and very difficult because TDS, TCS in this chapter is really very difficult. Now we are going to solve that kind of question that is going to be asked in examination. And if you are not able to solve that question, then you should be worried. The test knowledge question, illustration, and when I will take your revision class. What I will do in revision classes, we discuss the provision, your queries, your problem. And in revision class, I generally take the previous examination question and your RTP and MTP question. So that will make you understand that what kind of question is going to be framed. And on the basis of that, I can tell you this illustration 13, your test knowledge question, etc. Almost these kind of question is going to be asked in examination from this topic. And when you will able to see that you are this is very easy to solve these kind of question, your confidence will boost up. Because this chapter is so huge, multiple provision. So even if I am a student, I am going to be very worried how I am going to remember all these things. But let me tell you, questions are not that difficult. Questions are based on some specific thing. We will go through it. So what we will do right now, let me see if there is any query. Then we will go for, yes, Nidhi, today is the last class for this chapter. After that, the written filing chapter class would be there. So we are going to discuss illustration after a short break. So Mr. Ashok, Can we go for a short break, sir? Okay. Welcome back, everyone. I believe you must have your tea, coffee, etc. So do I. So there was a question from Pooja. Sir, if second-hand motor vehicle is purchased more than 10 lakh rupees, then also TCS applicable? Yes, TCS would be applicable if the value exceeding 10 lakh rupees, even in case of second-hand car. So we are moving to solve some illustration. एक स्टोरी भी सुनाऊंगा आप लोगों को अच्छी पहले illustration 13 करते हैं after this illustration I will tell you a very small and very interesting story also. Okay, so Mr. Gupta, a resident Indian, is in retail business and his turnover for financial year 23-24. You all are going to solve this question for me. Okay, I am not going to solve it. You are going to solve this question for me. And if you will feel that it is difficult, then we will think how to solve this question. So Mr. Gupta, a resident Indian, is in retail business and his turnover for the financial year 23-24 was 12 crore rupees. He regularly purchases goods from another resident, Mr. Agarwal, a wholesaler, and the aggregate payment during financial year 24-25 was 95 lakh. 20 lakh out of this 95 lakh paid on 1st June 24, 25 lakh on 12th August 24, 22 lakh on 23rd November 24, and balance 28 lakh on 25th March 25. Assume that the said amounts were credited to Mr. Agarwal's account in the books of Mr. Gupta on the same date. The Agarwal's turnover for financial year 23-24 was 15 crore. So based on the above fact, examine the TDS implication, if any, under the Income Tax Act. Now let me tell you, this question is into three parts. And if in examination this kind of question is going to be asked, that would be 3 to 4 marks weightage, in my opinion. Okay. So now we will see either we are able to solve that question or not. First of all, you have to find it out in this question that which section is going to be applicable. So can you tell me which section or which payment we are discussing over here for the purpose of TDS or TCS or advanced tax? The question is related to which concept? Somebody has said, we are saying 194Q and 206C1H, both, which will be applicable. That is a different case, but this transaction relates to both sections. 194Q as well as 206C1H, because the transaction falls in both of these two sections. That is a different thing which will prevail. But this transaction has applicability in two cases, 194Q and 206C1H. Clear, students? So first of all, in the question, we have to identify that applicability of which provision is there. Almost multiple students are saying 194Q, but let me tell you, both. Under which section we are going to deduct TDS or TCS, that's a different thing. But this transaction comprises in both kind of section. Okay. First thing is clear. Priya is asking why 206C1H, Priya, because amount exceeding 50 lakh rupees. 206C1H is also for goods if the transaction value is more than 50 lakh. But who will deduct TDS, TCS? That's a different thing. But transaction has the characteristics for both sections. Anubhav is also saying correct. Sahil 194Q. Mohammed Farhan is saying absolutely correct. Well done. Okay. So now, because section both applicable, 194Q and 206C1H. Now, who is the buyer in this question? Mr. Gupta is the buyer. And who is the seller in this question? Mr. Agarwal is the seller. Clear? Transaction amount was 20 lakh, then 25 lakh, then 22 lakh, then 28 lakh. Aggregate it's 95 lakhs. So it is exceeding 50 lakh rupees. So 194Q and 206C1H both applicable. Buyer turnover is exceeding 10 crore. It's 12 crore. And seller turnover also exceeding 10 crore. It's 15 crore. Now, according to the provision, you can see both section provisions are applicable. 206C is also applicable. It will say you can deduct TCS 0.1%. And this 194Q will say TDS can be deducted 1% under section 194Q. So both section applicability is there. So if both applicable, then which one will prevail? Section 194Q. So the first question was based on the above fact examining TDS, TCS implication, if any, under the Income Tax Act. So we will write it down. Both sections are applicable, but because 194Q is a prevailing effect, so we will deduct TDS in this case. Now, very interesting thing. TDS would be deducted when the amount will exceed 50 lakh. So on the first installment, there would not be any TDS. It's just 20 lakh rupees. On 25 lakh, the aggregate is now 45 lakh. Still, there would not be any TDS. After 45 lakh, when this 22 lakh is going to be added back, then it's exceeding 50 lakh. So the TDS is going to be deducted on the third payment, which was on 23rd of November 24. And the amount would be 0.1% exceeding 50 lakh rupees. And the last payment, because once limit has been exceeded, then TDS would be applicable on 28 lakh on 25th of March 25. So this is going to be your answer. The answer has been mentioned in detail. Now question 2, part of this. Would your answer be different if Mr. Gupta turnover for financial year 23-24 was 8 crore and all other fact remaining the same? What will happen? If Mr. Gupta turnover is not 12 crore, it's just 8 crore. So it is not exceeding 10 crore. Then what will happen? Now TCS provision will come into the act and Mr. Agarwal will collect TCS from Mr. Gupta 0.1%. And the same way, on first 20 lakh, there would not be any TCS. On second 25 lakh, no TCS. On the third 22 lakh, TCS would be there. And on 28 lakh, TCS would be there. As simple as that. Would your answer in 1 and 2 will change if pen has not been furnished by the buyer or seller as required? Yes, the rate of TDS and TCS would be higher in this case. So we have the solution. Now you can see the solution. First, on 17 lakh, TDS need to be deducted because 45 lakh, after that 22 lakh was there. So reducing 50 lakh out of it. Now on balance amount, the TDS need to be deducted. Clear? So 17 lakh rupees. And on 2000, 0.1% need to be deducted as TDS. Then in second case, because TCS is applicable, then the collection accordingly exactly the same, 1700 and 2800, but it would be TCS under section 206C1H. If PAN number has not been submitted, then the rate would be higher and it is 5% in case of section 194Q and 1% in case of section 206C1H. So almost 3 to 4 marks question this would be in the examination. And let me tell you, it's not easy. But whenever you go through with the provision, it always seems difficult until you practice it. When you start practicing it, you will feel it that if you learn the provision correctly, if you will able to understand the provision correctly, if you have revised those provision, make some short notes, then it is definitely going to be easy for you when you will solve some questions. Okay, so that has been done. This is the overview, the comparison of section 206C1, 1F, and 1H. So you can see how wonderfully your study has been designed. So just to make you understand things easily, there are revision part, there are example, illustration, extra, everything has been done just for you students. So please go through it. You can see this is the revision part, the summary of full chapter. So you can go through this also. It's a kind of a summary of full chapter. And now we are moving on to test your knowledge question. And then we will go for MCQs. Before that, I guess you all are waiting for a story. Let me see if there is any query. This is our test your knowledge questions. Correct. Buyer turnover not exceeding. Correct. Sir, in which case 20% maximum limit? Regarding TCS you are talking, or in any other case? Government has prescribed a maximum limit of 20%. Whatever would be your TCS rate. Suppose some TCS rate in future is suppose 15%. Then twice it would be 30%. But government say no, we will not collect TCS more than 20%. That's why that 20% has been a fixed percentage rate. So there is no TCS rate 20%, but if in any case in future your TCS rate is suppose 11%, then if it is twice due to not submission of ITR or PAN number, it could be 22%. But government does not want the collection rate exceeding 20%. That's why the limit has been prescribed. Okay. So there's a very small story. I don't remember ये स्टोरी मैं सुना चुका हूं तुम लोगों को या नहीं, बट आई गेस एक बार क्या हुआ, एक शहर था राजा महाराजा के टाइम का, और शहर में एक बच्चा अपने पापा के साथ जा रहा था मार्केट में, और उसने देखा मार्केट में जो उस शहर में जो वहां के सोल्जर थे वो एक चोर को, एक थीफ को पकड़ के लेके जा रहे थे। तो उस थीफ बीच में था, चारों पांचों तरफ से सोल्जर्स ने उसको कंट्रोल करा हुआ था, उसके हाथ पैरों में जंजीरें लगाई हुई थी, उसे पकड़ा हुआ था एक्सेट्रा। तो उस बच्चे ने पहली बार देखा था ये, तो उसने पूछा कि पापा ये कौन है? तो उसने कहा ये चोर है और इसके चारों तरफ सिपाही जा रहे हैं। तो उसने कहा ठीक है। थोड़ी देर बाद जब आगे चला तो पता चला उसी रोड से वहां का राजा भी निकल रहा है, और जब राजा निकल रहा था तो भी वही सीन हुआ। राजा बीच में चल रहा था और चारों पांचों तरफ उसके सोल्जर साथ में चल रहे थे। तो उस बच्चे ने पूछा कि पापा ये भी चोर है? तो उसने कहा नहीं, ये चोर नहीं है, ये राजा है यहाँ। उसने कहा ये क्या बात है, ये राजा क्यों है? इसके भी चारों तरफ सिपाही है, सोल्जर्स है, और उसके भी चारों तरफ सिपाही और सोल्जर्स थे, तो डिफरेंस क्या है? तो उसके फादर ने उसे बताया कि जो सोल्जर्स हैं, जो चारों तरफ आप लोग देख रहे हैं, वो एक्चुअली, दिस इज फॉर यू ऑल्सो, दिस इज योर ग्रीड। आपकी जो लाइफ की चीजें हैं, घूमने की फिरने की, ये जो आपकी चीजें हैं, जिन जो आपके ड्रीम्स हैं, जो आपको वीक बनाते हैं, डिस्ट्रैक्शन होते हैं, जैसे आपका पार्टीज, ये जो आपके चारों पांचों तरफ है, वो जो सोल्जर्स हैं वो टेक्निकली वो है जो आप अपनी लाइफ में करना चाहते हैं। घूमना फिरना, पार्टी करना, टाइम वेस्ट करना, मूवीज देखना, एक्सेट्रा। तो ये आपकी जो डिजायर्स हैं, ये वो डिजायर्स हैं। तो जब डिजायर्स आपको पकड़ लेती है, चोर वाले केस में उन डिजायर्स ने आपको पकड़ रखा है, तो अगर डिजायर्स ने आपके ब्रेन को कंट्रोल कर लिया तो आप चोर की तरह उनके स्लेव बन जाएंगे। यू विल बी गाइडेड और कंट्रोल्ड बाय देम, और आपकी लाइफ कैसी हो जाएगी? लाइक अ प्रिजनर। एंड जो राजा कौन बन पाएगा? जो उन डिजायर को खुद कंट्रोल कर लेगा। द पर्सन हु विल डिसाइड कि मुझे इस टाइम पढ़ना है, मुझे इस टाइम पर वेकअप होना है, ये मेरा स्टडी टाइम है, मैं दोस्तों के साथ नहीं ज्यादा जाऊंगा, मैं अपनी पढ़ाई पे ज्यादा फोकस करूंगा, पार्टीज को कम करूंगा. सो इफ यू आर एबल टू कंट्रोल योर दोज डिजायर, योर डिस्ट्रक्शन, सो यू विल बी अ किंग, यू विल बी अ सक्सेसफुल मैन. तो हमारे चारों तरफ वो जो डिजायर है, डिस्ट्रक्शन है, वो सबके लिए है. बट आप में से जो भी उनका स्लेव हो जाएगा, इफ डिजायर स्टार्ट टू कंट्रोल यू, अगर दोस्त बुला रहे हो और आप पार्टी में जा रहे हो और आपको पता है इससे टाइम वेस्ट होगा, तो अगर वो डिजायर्स ने आपको कंट्रोल करना शुरू कर दिया, सो यू विल बी लाइक अ थीफ, यू हैव टू लाइक अ स्लेव, लाइफ विल बी लाइक अ prisoner. And if you are that strong that you can control your will with your willpower, that what you will do, you will decide. You are not the slave, you will be the controlling authority of your life. Then you will be like a king. So whatever destruction comes to your life, always think, what I am doing, is it benefit for my future? What you are projecting yourself after 5 years. So whatever you trying to waste your time. I'm not saying that don't not go anywhere and just lock yourself into a room. No, just proportionate things. More time for studies and less time for all these things. You have to make a balance. The important thing, you have to cover your syllabus. Some student asked me a query, Mr. Gaurav Gupta, Garv Gupta. But according to you, is it possible that we can complete our syllabus of both group in 6 months? So everything is possible, but for completing your syllabus in 6 months of both group, you have to put a lot of efforts also. तो उस लेवल का एफर्ट अगर आप करने को तैयार हो, दिन में उतना पढ़ने के लिए तैयार हो, तो 6 मंथ्स में ऑफकोर्स हो सकता है, बोथ ग्रुप भी हो सकता है. अभी देयर इज अ स्टूडेंट, माय स्टूडेंट, I know him personally. He has cleared UPSC. He was a CA and he has cleared UPSC. So it makes us so much proud that our students can, after being a CA. So CA is not the end of your journey. It's a first milestone. Even after that, you have dreams to crack UPSC or you can do anything. But this is your the milestone. Your first dream need to be fulfilled like that. But the journey would not be stopped. You can grow further also, and you can shine this profession with that also. So that was a story for all of you. Now we are moving on for test your knowledge questions. Sir, it is twice or 5%, 1%, 2060-1H, whichever is higher. So for 2060-1H, 5% would not be applicable. Only 1% is the value which needs to be applicable. Same in case of section 194Q. Let me tell you, there is specific page number you can refer, 7.77 and 7.96, Ishan. Okay. So on 7.77, section 194Q has been specifically mentioned that the rate is 20% highest in case of TDS. But for section 194Q, the highest rate has been defined as 5%. So the rate for TCS is maximum is 5%, but for the purpose of 206C1H, the maximum could be 1%. 70 लाख पॉइंट फिर से बोलिए ना सर. 70 लाख वाला पॉइंट कौन सा था? कौन सा 70 लाख का पवन? In that example 70 lakh point you were discussing, Pawan, the example we have solved, where was that 70 lakh? It is 17 lakh was there, not 70 lakh, Pawan. Okay. Moving on to the examples. And you are going to solve these examples. Okay. So Ashwin doing manufacture and wholesaler trade furnish you the following information. Total turnover for the financial year is 1 crore 5 lakh 24-25. And after that, 24-25, the turnover is 95 lakhs. So the turnover matters of the preceding year generally in case of TDS. Examine whether tax deduction at source provision are attracted for the below said expense incurred during the financial year 24-25 by Mr. Ashwin. So interest paid to UCO Bank 15th August 2024 is 41,000 rupees. Please recall the provision. I have asked you multiple times to all of you. The process of solving a question is to understand the question, first of all. Then don't try to solve it. First of all, just imagine which concept is going to be applicable in this case. And then you will think about the answer. So in this example, interest paid to UCO Bank 15th August 2024 is 41,000 rupees. So whether TDS provision is applicable or not, yes or no. What is the limit for interest? Priya Mishra is saying 194A question mark. I am asking you the answer and you are giving 194 a question mark. No, no, no. What is your answer? Jainder is saying no. Nidhi is saying no. Your all story motivated us very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Who is this? Tanu. Okay, Tanu, you're welcome. Jainder saying banking company. Kesapuram is saying 30K. Shagufta is saying no. Arshada also saying no. Harsh Kaur is saying no. Miss P is saying yes, sir, as it exceed 40,000. Also, individual preceding previous year exceeding 1 crore. Very good. Yash Poddar saying, sir, as interest paid to banks. So, no. यार ये नई chat box बहुत difficult है. Shagufta saying 194 is not applicable. Why Shagufta? Why it's not applicable? Kesapuram is saying, sir, your story is much needed at this point of time. Thank you. Okay, you're welcome. You're exceeding 40,000. Tanu is saying applicable. Nidhi Vishwakarma saying 194. See, interest case. Maybe it is interest paid. Interest कहाँ से आया 194C में? No, 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 no. Pawan is saying no. More than 40,000. So yes, sir. Soumya is saying interest paid to banking company. Student, those are saying yes. The answer is wrong. It is not going to be deductible for TDS because you paid interest to the bank. You paid interest to the bank. Section 194A we have discussed if bank, insurance company, government, etc. if they are paying, then no TDS provision. If they are payer, if bank is going to pay you, then section 194A was there. But in this example, actually Mr. Ashwin is paying to the bank. So there is no applicability of TDS. So before giving the answer, to understand the question is very, very important because bank is paying. Okay, now second is contract payment to Raj. Two contracts of 12,000 each on 12/12/2024. So this is regarding work contract under section 194C. So whether TDS is required to be deducted or not. It's a very simple question, of course. Somesh Singh is saying no. Why no, Somesh? Why you are saying that it is not required to deduct TDS? What is the reason? Because the provision says individual agreement should at least exceeding 30,000 and in aggregate it should exceeding 1 lakh rupees. So neither it is exceeding 30,000 individual contract nor it is exceeding 1 lakh rupees in this case. So that's why there would not be any TDS liability. So now you're feeling TDS was difficult. This is the kind of question you are going to face in examination. I'm telling you. So the provisions are huge, etc. Multiple exception exemption, but institute and examiner also know that how much difficult provision, multiple provisions are there. So they will make provision like this. Do not worry. Shop rent paid one pay on 21st January 2025, 2,50,000. TDS need to be deducted or not? And if yes, which section is going to be applicable? 194I or 194IB? Okay, who will answer? Miss P is saying, yes, sir, it exceed 240 under section 194I. Why under section 194I, Miss P? Why it's not section 194 IB? What is your name? Why it is only showing Miss P? Okay. Shagupta is saying 194I. Almas is saying 194I. Okay. Ishan also saying why 194I students? Why? Why it's not 194 IB? Correct? Because that Mr. Ashwin preceding previous year turnover was exceeding 1 crore. That's why. In the starting, we have discussed the turnover is more than 1 crore. That's why section 194 I is applicable. And because the rent is exceeding 2,40,000, that's why the rent required to be deducted TDS under section 194 I. Maybe why are you saying 194B? Why? They're also saying correct. Very good. Okay, so that was 194. I would be applicable and TDS would be liable to deduct. Commission paid to Balu on 15th March 2025. Whether TDS required to be deducted or not, and if no, then why? If yes, then in which section? Easy. The commission limit is 15,000 because it's less than 15,000, so there would not be any TDS liability. So are this or condition or this question is difficult? I don't think so. It is difficult. Okay, now question number 2. Compute the amount of tax deduction at source on the following payments made by Messrs. The very important thing is to find it out who is the payer. S Limited during the financial year 24-25 because it's a company, so there is no concept of finding out whether the turnover exceeding 1 crore or not. So in case of company, payer is always going to deduct the TDS if it exceeding the specific limit. So in first case, on 1/10/2024, payment of 2 lakh to Mr. R, a transporter who owned 8 goods carriages throughout the previous year and furnish a declaration to this effect along with his PIN number. So you will see the numerical question speaks itself. That listen, we are giving you a hint that what should be the correct answer. You just need to find out that hint, and according to that, you can answer correctly. So in this case, TDS required to be deducted or not? No TDS because there was an exemption we have gone through. In that, if you have not more than 10 goods carriages and you are involved in plying in hiring of goods carriages, and if you have submit your PIN number to the payer, in that case, there would not be any TDS deduction. So there would be exemption in this case. So there would not be any kind of TDS deduction in this case. Correct, Mr. Farhan? No TDS. अभी बताना मेरे को जब मैं सारे एग्जांपल करा दूंगा ना आप लोगों को. TDS is difficult chapter. Seriously. On 1/11/2024, and even if again I am saying if you're thinking we are solving simple question, no. These kind of question is in the examination. You can check it out the old examination paper and you will find the TDS question is just like that. Payment of fees for technical services of 25,000 and royalty of 20,000 to Mr. Sham, who is having a PAN number. So, do TDS need to deduct or not? The correct answer is, of course, no TDS. Because individual limit is 30,000 for technical services and royalty individually. So, there would not be any TDS requirement because it is less than 30,000. Now on 30th June 2024, payment of 25,000 to Messrs X Limited for repair of building. Which section is applicable in third case? Which payment, which kind of payment has been included in third case? Let me see what is the answers. In case of repair, because it's a work contract, and because in this work contract, the amount limit does not exceed 30,000 rupees, so there would not be any TDS deduction. Priyansh is asking this question, and this kind of question really I don't want to see. He's asking, sir, what is the weightage of this chapter? How would I know what is the weightage? I am not the paper maker. There is nothing like this. What is the weightage of this chapter? It is possible that in examination that could be either 4 marks. Is it possible also that this chapter question could be for 10 marks also? And it is possible that there would not be any question. So do not ask these kind of question to any faculty because we do not know about it. What the paper setter is thinking, they only know what kind of weightage they are going to give in the examination. Income taxes of 50 marks, that is only we should think. Anything could be asked. Okay. So of course, because the payment is less than 30,000 and this is a kind of work contract, so there would not be any TDS deduction. Moving on ahead, this is a good question. Now let's see how many of you can give the correct answer to this question. Payment of 2 lakh rupees made to Mr. A for purchase of diaries, you understand, diaries made according to specification of Messrs. S Limited. However, no material was supplied for such diaries to Mr. A by Messrs. S Limited or its associates. So first of all, you have to tell me which kind of payment we are talking about, either section or the amount of nature of payment. You have to find it out, and then according to it, you have to tell me whether TDS need to be applied in this case or not. And if not, then why? So this is the kind of question. Okay, Miss P. Miss P, what is your name? Why it's only show Miss P? Okay, tell me your name. So she's saying, okay. Next is Shagufta Parveen is saying 194C. Okay, 194C is there. So is it applicable or not? You have to answer this. TDS need to be deducted or not? Job work it is according to Jayendra Pokle. So if it is a job work and if it is section 194C scenario, then do we need to apply TDS on it or not? And if yes, what is the rate of TDS and the amount also? Arshada is saying 194C. Jayendra Pokle is saying no TDS. But on job work, TDS is there, Jayendra. Why no TDS? You are answering. Achha, my name is P. Smriti, sir. Only my initial is showing and I am not able to change my name. Okay, Smriti. P. Smriti. Okay, got it. Shagufta Parveen is saying work contract 194C. So do we need to deduct TDS? And if yes, what should be the rate? Almas is saying something. Good. Tanu is saying 194 H applicable. Tanu, H कैसे हुआ भाई? ये तो वर्क कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है. Where is commission brokerage? There is no commission brokerage is there, na? 194C work contracts, no TDS. Harsh Kaur is saying. Why no TDS, Harsh? Soumya is saying correct. Almas was also saying correct. There is no material supply from the customer. And because material does not supply by the customer, so there would not be a contract for work. There would be a contract, there would be a technically sale of material. We have gone through this kind of example. It says that if the manufacturing as per specification of the person who is going to pay you, but if the material also supplied by the buyer or the person nominated by him, then there would be a job work case and TDS could be applicable. But because of this line, because this line says no material was supplied from such diaries by to Mr. A by S Limited. So this is a contract for sale. And contract of sale is absolutely material only. So there would not be any TDS applicability under section 194C. That is outside the purview of section 194C. Very good. A lot of students have given the correct answer. Very, very, very good. payment of 2,30,000 made to Mr. Bharat for compulsory acquisition of his house as per law of the state government. So it is a compulsory acquisition. What should be the correct answer, student? In this case, TDS should be applicable or not? Because the compensation does not exceed 2,50,000. If it exceeds 250, then TDS provision under section 194 LA will be applicable. It is less than 2,50,000, so there would not be any TDS. And tell me the last question answer also. We have already discussed this kind of question. Again, the answer is no, because for commission, etc., the limit is at least 15,000 rupees. So, do you still feel that TDS was that difficult? What we were thinking in our second session or today's session before solving these kind of question? Do you really think is it that difficult? Look, salary is difficult. Capital gain also I can say it's complicated, or PGP also, but TDS deductions are not that kind of provision you should be afraid of. In examination, the questions are very simple. Okay, so yes, it is easy, Soumya. When you will solve these questions, and if you will try to solve RTP, etc., also, you will feel that TDS is not difficult. There is nothing to fear from that chapter at least. This deduction, set off, clubbing, income from other source, basic provision, residential status, these are simple topic. Okay, one request from my side, because the next class is for return filing procedure. And after that, there would be a class of computation of total income and tax. So please revise chapter 1 and 2, the concept, basic concept chapter, because basic concept is having slab rates, surcharge provision, rebate provision, cess provision, so marginally integration of agricultural income. So when we will solve total income and tax calculation liability concept, those provision will come again into the picture. So please revise that chapter, at least basic concept. Because if you are not revising that chapter, and when we will solve the question of total income and tax, so you might be very confused that how tax has been calculated. So please revise that chapter and one more chapter, that is capital gain. Capital gain part 2, in which we have discussed specific rates of tax. Then long term is 15, 12.5, 20%, 10%. And the table I have discussed with you for calculation of tax. At least these two topics you have to go through before taking the class of calculation of total income and tax. Because if you have gone through with those, or you have revised those two chapters, basic concept and that capital gain provisions, rate of taxes provision, that chapter, that would be really easy to understand the calculation of tax. So please revise that. At that class, please do not ask me, sir, how we calculate this slab rate tax, how rebate has come, why we charge surcharge, because it will consume a lot of time. So please revise that topic. It's a request from my side. Yes, practice you have to do, Arshada. If you'll practice, you will feel that everything is easy. Shagufta is saying, sir, difficult तो था पर आपने बहुत अच्छा पढ़ाया. शुक्रिया, शुक्रिया, शुक्रिया Shagufta. Okay. Pavan is asking 194 LA, फिफ्थ पॉइंट फिर से समझा दीजिए सर. ओके पवन जी, फिफ्थ पॉइंट है कि कंपलसरी एक्विजिशन हुआ है घर का, जिसके अगेंस्ट में आपको 2,30,000 रुपए दिए गवर्नमेंट. 194 LA में कंडीशन है, 2.5 लाख कहां से आया नहीं, वो प्रोविजन में लिखा है. 194 LA प्रोविजन आप पढ़ेंगे तो उसमें मेंशन है कि अगर कंपेंसेशन 2,50,000 से ज्यादा मिलेगा एक साल में, तभी TDS कटेगा. ये उस सेक्शन में लिखा है 194 LA में. यहां कितना मिला है हमें? 2,50,000 से कम, इसीलिए देयर वुड नॉट बी एनी TDS. ओके, ऐसे आया. तो निधि आस्किंग, सर अगर सेक्शन याद नहीं रहा तो क्या एस पर प्रोविजन लिख सकते हैं? यस, अगर सेक्शन याद ही ना रहे तो आप एस पर प्रोविजन रेट इज दिस परसेंट and the limit was this, so this limit has been crossed, so TDS amount would be this. आप बिल्कुल लिख सकते हैं अगर सेक्शन याद ना रहे. Okay, now question number 3, we are moving on. Examine the applicability of TDS provision and TDS amount in the following case. Rent paid for hire of machinery by B Limited to Mr. Raman. 2,60,000 on 27 September 2040. So what is the limit under section 194I? It was 2,40,000. And now the rent is exceeding it. So TDS is going to be charged. And what would be the rate in case of machine? The rate would be 2%. Fees paid on 1st December 2024 to Dr. Shri Vastan by Sundar HUF, 35,000 for surgery performed on a member of the family. So because it is for personal purpose and it is a professional fees, and professional fees for personal purpose is exempted from the TDS provision. So no TDS. Suppose if I have changed it, surgery performed on an employee. Suppose I have written it on an employee. So if it is an employee, then it would not be a personal purpose, it would be a commercial purpose. Then TDS provision would be applicable. ABC Company Limited paid 19,000 to one of its director on sitting fees on 1st January 2020. Sitting fees. So do we need to charge TDS under section 194J or not? Somebody wants to ask something. Who is that? Harshada wants to ask something. Just a second. Let me take queries. Then we will unmute Harshada. Pawan Kumar. मजा आ गया क्लास में. Very good. Okay. 2% no TDS as personal purpose. Yes. Yes. TDS need to be deducted in case of director because there is no specific limit, no threshold limit. So TDS is going to be deducted for sure. Correct. डायरेक्ट के केस में निधि, डायरेक्टर के केस में एग्जेम्प्ट है नहीं, डायरेक्टर के केस में हमेशा टैक्सेबल है. 30,000 की कोई लिमिट नहीं है. 10 रुपए भी डायरेक्टर को दिए जाएंगे तो टीडीएस का प्रोविजन एप्लीकेबल हो जाएगा. Okay, Harshada is saying sorry, by mistake raised hand, sir. Okay, not a problem. Okay. So now the fourth point, it is easy. You can go through it. Now I am going to solve with you the MCQ. And these are the MCQs we are going to discuss one by one. Okay, now I will upload the notes because whatever I have written on notes, I will make the PDF of that notes and that sheet I'm going to upload for you. So whatever we have written over there, you can see from that notes also. And I'm also going to upload these MCQs with answer also after the class. Okay. So moving ahead. 7. Just a second. We are going to discuss MCQ one by one. And these are very simple. General MCQs. The difficult is 234 ABC. We do not might have time for solution of, I have prepared 2 questions for advanced tax and 234 B and C interest question. Those are at the end of these MCQ. And these are practical question actually. These are not MCQ. So I believe that we would not have that much time. So I will upload that question and the full solution also. So if you will any query in that solution, you can ask me in the next class. Okay, so you are start giving answer. The deduction of tax at source in case of salary shall be made at the time of, the correct answer is just a second. The correct answer would be D, payment of salary. Deduction of tax from salary as per section 192 shall be, which is the correct answer. Kindly read it. The correct answer is option number C. Deduction of tax rate from accumulated balance of the recognized provident fund withdrawn by employee shall be, the correct answer is C. The liability to deduct TDS at source in case of income from interest on security arises at the time of. So which is the correct answer out of these four options? Credit or payment, whichever is earlier. So the correct answer is option number C. TDS on interest on national development bond is to be deducted. Which of these is the correct answer? National development bonds. I want to see who is going to give the correct answer of question number 5. So kindly write it down, the question number. Only in that case, I would be able to understand the answer you are giving. So what is the question number 5 answer? If you are typing your answer, kindly write it down 5 and then write it down the option. Read this question carefully and then give me the correct answer. Nidhi is saying question number 5, B. Okay. I only need question number 5 answer. Jainder is saying D. Okay. Tanu is saying, I guess, B. Kesa Puram Kumari is saying C. Pavan is saying B. Please write it down, the question number, student. I would not be able to understand the answer of which question you are giving. Shagufta is saying B. Tanu is saying now C. Harsh Kaur is saying D. Okay. Miss P. Smriti is saying C. Almas is saying D. Nidhi is saying C. Ishan is saying D. Pooja is saying D. Soumya is also saying D. Yash is saying D. Priya Mishra is saying D. Mr. M.A. is saying option C. And Moji is saying D. Well done. Very good. The correct answer is D because we are talking about interest on national development bonds. And these are in the exempted category. If you go for section 194A, those are interest on other than interest on security. And the exemptions part of that, you will see the first bond was national development bond interest is exempted from the TDS provision. Okay, so the correct answer is option number D. Next, the rate of TDS in case of listed debentures for the financial year 24-25 is question number 6. Correct answer is D. It's 10%. B, an individual who is not carrying on a business has borrowed a sum of 2 lakh rupees on 1st April 2024 at the rate 15% per annum from a finance company. B, in this case, should deduct tax on such interest paid amounting to question number 7. Because B has taken loan from a finance company. So when he will pay the interest, the finance company or bank would be the payee. And if they are paying, there would not be any TDS liability as we have discussed earlier. If the government, bank, LIC, post office, government department, etc., if they are paying, then there is no requirement of TDS in any case. B has deposited a sum of 3 lakh rupees on 1st April 2024 with a scheduled bank for 1 year at the interest of 8% per annum. So the bank should deduct tax at source amounting to. So how much would be the interest? The interest would be 24,000. So do we need to deduct TDS on 24,000? The answer would be no, because 40,000 is the minimum limit. Question number 9. No tax is to be deducted at source if winning from lottery or crossword puzzles, etc. If the correct answer is if it is less than or does not exceed 10,000, then there is no need of TDS deduction. Question number 10. It says B has won a lottery of 1 lakh rupees on 11/10/2024. How much would be the TDS on such winning? The rate would be 30%. So the correct answer would be A. The person responsible for paying to any person shall income by way of winning. The correct answer is, of course, D. The rate of TDS in case of lottery winning. 12th is again the same, lottery winning. Question number 13 also the same. Question number 14, again the rate in case of prize money from winning a horse race. Question number 15 is different. Mr. B, an individual whose turnover of the business for the preceding year exceeding 1 crore, has engaged a contractor for building his house on 15 December 24. R has made a payment of 5 lakh rupees to the contractor. R should deduct the tax at source amounting to. So do we need to deduct tax in this case or no? Because that is working for residential house. And if 194C, the payer is individual HUF, and if it is payment for personal purpose, then there would not be any TDA. So the correct answer would be D in case of question number 15. A company has given an advertising contract to an advertising agency on 1st December 2024. It has paid a sum of 2,40,000 to the advertising agency, a firm. How much would be the TDS? So question number 16 answer I want. So please send question number 16 correct answer and with the question number. So I would be able to find out what answer you are giving for which question. Let's see. Okay. Mo G is saying option C. Okay. Soumya didn't answer yet. Ishan is saying C for 16 number question. Nidhi is saying no. I don't know for what she's saying no. Almas is saying 16C. Very good. The correct answer is, of course, C. Because 194C TDS would be deducted at the rate of 2%. Because for individual HUF, the rate is 1%. Other than individual HUF, the rate is 2%. Correct. A lot of students has given the correct answer. Okay. Moving ahead. The correct answer of question number 16 is, friends, C. B Limited of firm of contractor, same kind of question. B and Sons, same kind of question. A Limited has created a sum of 80,000 to the account of a chartered accountant, 194J, because it is exceeding 30,000. So TDS need to be deducted, and the correct answer would be in this case A. Question number 20, again the same kind of question. Contractor 194C, same question. Fees for professional service, same question. Again, question number 23, 24. Showroom on rent, again same question, section 194I. You can easily solve these questions, so I'm not discussing it. 20, B has purchased a immovable property. Okay, this is question for you now. Question number 26. Now you question number 26, you have to read it and give me the correct answer. TDS is liable to be deducted to section 194IA, and if yes, what should be the correct amount of TDS we need to deduct? You see, Soumya again, please write it down the question number so I would be able to understand which question you are answering. Question number 16. 190C is applicable, Somesh. In question number 16, section 194C is applicable. Question number 16 was regarding advertising agency contract. It's a contract-based services. Section 194C is applicable. Okay. We were discussing question number 26. Okay. So what is the correct answer of question number 26? Okay, Kesapuram is saying B. Harshada is saying B. Jayendra is saying B. Pawan is saying C. Nidhi is saying A. Almas is saying B. Well done. Temuji is saying B. Very good. Ishan is saying B. Mr. M is saying B. Well done. Soumya is saying B. Correct. Pooja is saying nothing. Shagufta is saying B. Sahil is saying B. Well done. The correct answer is B because in section 194 IA, the provision says that higher of stamp duty value and the consideration, if these are exceeding 50 lakh rupees, then the higher is going to be liable to the TDS at the rate of 1%. So in that case, 80 lakh would be the higher amount and 1% TDS need to be deducted on 80 lakh rupees. Next is, the correct answer is B in this case. '27 is section 194I, simple question. 194J, you can easily solve it. 194R. 194R is for perquisites, for business purpose. If you are receiving, then TDS need to be deducted under section 194R. Question number 29, the correct option is option number A. Question number 30, also 194R. Okay. What is the correct answer of question number 30? Chalo ye batao. What is correct answer of question number 30? Arshada. Do we need to check 110% of sale consideration? No, not in this case. For TDS purpose, we do not need to check this. For TDS purpose, whatever amount there is, you have to see the applicability. If the stamp duty value or consideration, any of this is exceeding 50 lakh, TDS provision would be applicable at higher value. Okay. Tejo is saying, Moji is saying D. Okay. Mr. M is saying D. Got it. Almas is saying D. Soumya, why it's D? Okay, Soumya, explain in your answer why it's D. Sahil also saying D. Nidhi is saying C. Priyanshi is saying nil, D. So the reason behind it, because in case of section 194R, the threshold limit is at least 20,000. And because the limit is less than 20,000, 18,000 has been given in the question. So there would not be any TDS deduction in this case. Okay, so let me see. Santosh Pawar was saying D. Well done, Santosh. Very good. The correct answer is, sorry, not C, D. Okay. 31, resident benefit not arising from business of the exercise of profession. So kindly read this question and give me the answer of question number 31 also. Harshada is saying, is this aggregate or not, sir, in case of 194? If the pair is same, it is an aggregate. Of course, it is an aggregate if the pair is same. Okay. Santosh is saying A. Tanu is saying A. Very good. Then Moji is saying D. Okay. Somesh is saying A. Priya is writing down A and it's a question mark. Priya, you have to answer. I am asking to you. You are questioning from me. Okay. Kesapuram Kumari is saying A. Pavan is saying A. Nidhi is saying A. Priyanshi is saying A. Shagufta is saying A. Got it. Soumya is saying A. Mr. M is saying D. Sure. Pooja is saying A. Harshada has given the answer as D. Jayendra also saying D. Yash is saying A. So a lot of student has given A option. I guess almost 80% students said the correct answer is A. But let me tell you, the correct answer is B. Why? Because we did not read the question correctly. You are just going with the flow and you thought, okay, the kind of question we have asked earlier, it's the same one, but you did not read it properly. Has provided a resident benefit not arising from business. 194R is applicable when benefit is arising from business. And I have changed it. I have just write it down, not arising from business. And what actually you are doing, you just did not read the question properly. And most of you are giving the answer 10,000, which is a wrong one. In this case, the correct answer would be D. So those have given the correct answer, well done. Now this question number 32. This is for TCS provision. Very simple. You are able to solve it very easily. Now 33 and 34. These are two questions for advanced tax provision and for 234 B and C interest calculation. And in question number 33, if you will see estimated GTI of B and company of firm. Remember, it's a partnership firm. So the tax need to be calculated for the purpose of advanced tax as per partnership firm rate. That is 30%. So income is 3 lakh, which includes 30 lakh, which includes 10 lakh long-term cap gain at the rate of 20% earned on 16 September 24. Compute advance tax payable by company, assuming 2,80,000 TDS has already been deducted in May 2024. So I have written down the answer of advance tax liability on the different dates. You should try yourself, and I will upload the full answer also of this question. So you should try. The advance tax liability on the first date should be this, on the second date should be this, in third case should be this, and in the fourth date it should be this. In the same way, question number 34. This is a combined question of advance tax and interest under section 234B. And I have also mentioned the interest on various dates. So you should try yourself. I will upload the detailed answer of this question also. So if you are not able to find out the correct answer, you can cross check. And if there would be any issue, we will discuss it in the next class. So now if you have any query, student, you can ask me. Jayendra Pokle wants to ask something. Can we unmute Mr. Jayendra? Ashok sir, can we unmute Mr. Jayendra? Okay.
Yes. In IFRS chapter, we see casual income is not adjusted.
Your voice is not clear. Speak loudly, please.
In IFRS chapter.
In IFRS, okay.
Casual income not deducted expenditure and allowances. Against casual income.
Again, in an income from other source, in casual income,
expenditure and allowances cannot be allowed.
No, nothing. In case of casual income, we cannot deduct anything, whether expenses, allowances, basic exemption limit, deductions, any other loss, we cannot deduct anything against casual income.
But in previous section, if there is a profit of 1 lakh.
Please little louder. I am not able to hear you properly.
In previous section, if there is a profit of 1 lakh and loss of 2 lakh. we
from
discussed.
casual income.
Yes.
In case of casual income, there cannot be loss because the expenses we cannot deduct. Loss can be arise only against any income when there is any expenses allowed. So if there is any loss has been written against casual income, we will consider it as a zero.
Yes. इन टीडीएस जो हमने पिछले क्लास में डिस्कस किया था ना, टीडीएस के वक्त, तब किसी ने पॉइंट रेज किया था कि 1 लाख का प्रॉफिट हुआ है और 1 लाख लॉस हुआ, मतलब लॉटरी के लिए हमने इस्तेमाल किया है अगेंस्ट लॉटरी के, तो उसका डिडक्शन मिलेगा या नहीं मिलेगा?
नहीं,
सेटअप होगा?
नहीं मिलेगा एक्चुअली ना। देखो, जो विनिंग फ्रॉम लॉटरी का कैसीनो का रूल क्या होता है, जब आप कैसीनो में जाते हैं वहां आप 3-4 गेम खेलते हैं, उसके बाद जो नेट विनिंग होती है वो आपको काउंटर से मिलती है। क्लियर? जो प्रैक्टिकली हम बात करते हैं, जो क्वेश्चन कई बार स्टूडेंट पूछते हैं ना, वो हाइपोथेटिकली होते हैं, वो रियल सिचुएशन बेस्ड नहीं होते हैं। बच्चे पूछ लेते हैं कि सर ऐसे हुआ तो कैसे होगा, बट जो रियलिटी है वो ये कि जब आप किसी कैसीनो में जाएंगे या कोई गैम्बलिंग होगी या कहीं पर बैटिंग करेंगे आप, तो जो वो कैसीनो में आप जितने भी गेम खेलेंगे उसका नेट अमाउंट आपको मिलेगा। अब अगर मान लीजिए हमने उसमें दो अलग अलग गेम खेले, फर्स्ट गेम में हम लोग 1 लाख रुपीज जीते, सेकंड में हम 40,000 रुपीज हार गए, तो आपको वहां अगर वो नेट एक ही जगह पर आप गेम खेल रहे हो तो आपको फिर नेट 60 ही मिलेंगे, तो वो 60 ही टीडीएस में जाएंगे। बट अगर सपोज आप वहां सेपरेट दो गेम खेलते हो अलग अलग काउंटर पे, जहां पर एक में 1 लाख का लॉस है, एक में 1 लाख का प्रॉफिट है, तो जब आप प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेट करने जाएंगे एक काउंटर से, तो वो टीडीएस पूरे 1 लाख पे डिडक्ट करेगा, बिकॉज वो काउंटर आपको पूरे 1 लाख देने वाला है। अदर काउंटर से अगर आपको रिसिप्ट मिल रही है, लॉस है आपको 1 लाख का, दैट वुड नॉट गोइंग टू बी कंसिडर for the purpose of examination. If the question is like this, that 1 lakh winning from a lottery or any game and 1 lakh loss from the other game, what would be the TDS amount? So upon 1 lakh rupees of full gain, TDS need to be deducted 30,000 rupees.
एंड फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ आईएफएस 60,000 लेने होंगे नेट विनिंग?
In the case of IUFS, full 1 lakh rupees would in the 60,000. Well, yes, exactly the same counter you are receiving. Then your net receiving is 60,000, because if the same counter is paying you for the two games, one is 1 lakh plus and 40,000 is lost, then your income would remain 60,000. In that case, TDS would be deducted on 60,000 only. But if they are two separate counter and from both separate counter you are playing different game and getting your money from separate counters, then that loss amount is not going to be deducted. You have to pay full TDS on 1 lakh rupees.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Shagufta is asking, sir, mock test का डेट रिलीज हो गया है क्या? मैं जनवरी 26 में एग्जाम दूंगी, तो क्या अभी का मॉक टेस्ट मैं दे सकती हूँ? आई डोंट नो कि मॉक टेस्ट डेट हैज बीन published or not, but January 26 and September 25 questions and assessment year would be same. So if there is mock test has been released, then you can give the mock test also, these mock test series, and that would be applicable for January 26 also. That would not be a problem. Arshada now got cleared about it. Casual net winning, sir. Thank you. You're welcome, Arshada. Shagupta is saying thank you. Arshada, okay. Anyone else? Do you have any query? मॉक टेस्ट ऑनलाइन होता है ऑफलाइन? बच्चों प्लीज ऐसे क्वेश्चन ना आप पीओएस को पूछ लो, वो बता देंगे बेटर। मेरे से पूछो पढ़ाई के बारे में, सेक्शंस पूछो, प्रॉब्लम पूछो, प्रोविजन पूछो, वो आई विल टेल यू। बाकी जो इस तरह की चीजें हैं, काइंडली कॉन्टैक्ट और मेल टू द बीओएस, और यू कैन कॉल ऑल्सो। एनी अदर क्वेरी स्टूडेंट्स? आई डोंट थिंक सो देयर इज एनी मोर क्वेरी। So please study hard, work hard, focus, and don't be slave of your desires. Just control your feelings for next 2 or 3 years. Just control your feelings. You should be the king of your desire, etc. And definitely you are going to achieve whatever you want. Ishan is asking something. Sir, we can make notes as we did in class for 194Q today. Yes, you can make notes for anything. That would be always preferable, and that would be really going to help you also in the examination. Anyone else? Mr. M is saying thank you, welcome. Anyone else? Tamu is saying thank you, welcome. अब इस चैट बॉक्स में दिखता भी नहीं है, सबको लिंक चेक करना पड़ता है किसने क्या बोला. ओके. So Ashok sir, I guess we can close the session. All queries has been taken. There is no more query. Done. Right, sir.